My name is Latanya Copeland, and I'm 32 years old. The thing about being the reliable one is that no one ever asks if you're tired. They just assume you'll handle it. That thought followed me into my parents' living room on New Year's Eve, clinging like static. I'd come straight from work, coat still on, tote bag digging into my shoulder. 10 hours on my feet. No dinner. No warning text asking if I was okay. Just expectation. My mother barely glanced up when I walked in. She pressed a tray of champagne flutes into my hands like it was muscle memory. "Pass these around," she said, already turning back to the kitchen. My father checked his watch and muttered something about me being late. Not glad you made it. Not Happy New Year. Just late. Emma was curled into the corner of the sectional, knees tucked to her chest, phone glowing against her face. My younger sister, 27. Fragile in the way everyone noticed, the one everyone protected, the one I'd quietly been rescuing since college. For 8 years, I played my part. I paid bills that weren't mine, covered emergencies I didn't create, missed birthdays because something had gone wrong again, turned down a job in Seattle because my mother said moving would destroy the family. Every holiday followed the same choreography. I dressed carefully, nice enough to avoid criticism, plain enough not to invite it. I smiled. I listened. I fixed problems behind the scenes. I wasn't the golden child. I wasn't the rebel. I was the safety net. Midnight crept closer. Champagne corks popped. Someone started the countdown. My aunt spoke about new beginnings, her voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. People clinked glasses and laughed too loudly. Then my mother stood. She raised her glass and turned, not to the room, but directly to me. "This year," she said brightly, "you'll be paying your sister's rent. She's under too much stress." Just like that. No warning, no conversation, no explanation. I blinked. The room tilted. Every head turned toward me like this was the most natural thing in the world. Before I could even breathe, my father added, "And if you refuse, don't bother coming around anymore." There it was, the line, the threat dressed up as love. I looked at Emma. She didn't lift her head, didn't even pretend to meet my eyes. Something inside me went very still. I smiled, not because I was amused, but because I finally understood. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a decision they'd made without me, about me. I lifted my glass and gently tapped it against my father's. "Then this is my last toast," I said calmly, "and your last check." Silence crashed into the room. No one laughed. No one spoke. I set my glass down, picked up my coat, and walked out. The cold outside hit hard, sharp enough to clear my head. I walked to my car alone, heels crunching against the pavement. No one followed me. No one called my name. What they didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for months. The shared account? Closed quietly weeks ago. My name on Emma's lease? Removed after a long, awkward call with the landlord. The check my dad asked me to write in November? Never sent. And the job offer I turned down because my mother called it selfish? I called them back last week. I start in 2 weeks. In another city. I went home, my real home, and turned off my phone. When I turned it back on the next morning, there were missed calls, voicemails, messages piling up like static. One from Emma. "Please don't ignore me." 5 minutes later, another message appeared. "I think I'm in trouble. I need to tell you something." That's when I realized the rent was only the surface, and whatever was underneath it was about to change everything. I didn't text Emma back right away. I needed quiet. Real quiet. The kind that doesn't buzz or demand or ask you to fix anything. I made coffee I didn't drink and stood by the window, watching the morning drag itself awake. The party replayed in my head like a warped recording. My mother's smile, my father's ultimatum, the clink of glass that felt like a verdict. I thought I'd feel relief, freedom, victory. Instead, there was just stillness. Not regret, not doubt. Just a strange, hollow calm, like my body had finally stopped bracing for impact after years of clenching. When I finally called Emma, she picked up on the first ring. "No hello, no small talk." "I messed up," she said. "I really messed up." I didn't interrupt. I just waited. Her voice tumbled out fast, uneven. She was about $6,000 in debt. Probably more. She'd lost track. I pictured student loans, credit cards, something careless but fixable. Then the words tilted sideways. "It's gambling," she said quietly. "Online poker. It started small. Then I kept losing. Then I tried to win it back." I sat down at the kitchen table. The timeline unraveled itself piece by piece. She'd stopped paying rent in October. She thought she could hit big just once, pay me back before I noticed. She didn't know I'd been covering it all along. Or maybe she hoped I wouldn't notice, because I never did. Every time I brought it up, my parents shut it down. Don't stress her out. She's going through a lot. You've got it handled, don't you? Now I understood why they'd push so hard at the toast. They weren't solving a problem. They were hiding it. Then Emma said something that pulled the floor out from under me. Dad told me last week they were going to ask you about the rent. I closed my eyes. I told them not to, she said quickly. I begged them not to. I said it wasn't right, that I was dealing with it. But they said you'd be fine with it, because you always are. There it was, confirmation. I wasn't angry because the truth surprised me. I was angry because it didn't. I'm not calling to ask for money, Emma said. I swear, I'm staying with a friend right now. I've been applying everywhere. I'll take anything. Receptionist, barista, anything. She paused. I just need help, not money. I need a fresh start, and I don't want them involved. That part hit harder than I expected. I'll think about it, I said finally. I didn't promise anything. She said she understood, and for the first time, I believed her. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about the last 8 years, the birthdays I worked through, the wedding I missed because Emma had a breakdown and I was the only one who could calm her. The job I turned down because my mother said moving would ruin her. I hadn't just hit a wall. I'd been buried under expectations so long I forgot what breathing felt like. My phone rang again. My dad. I didn't answer. Then my mom. Again and again. Finally, a voicemail. I played it on speaker while rinsing my mug. You made your point, LaTanya, my mother said. Now come fix it. That was it. They didn't see a daughter. They saw a solution. They didn't know I'd already signed a lease in another city, that I'd been packing for 2 weeks, that I had no intention of showing up to another stage family dinner. But Emma, she hadn't asked me to fix her. She asked where to start. That night, I texted her one word. Come. She arrived the next evening in an Uber with one rolling suitcase and an overstuffed grocery bag full of chargers, tangled jewelry, and random pantry snacks. She looked smaller than I remembered. Pale. Exhausted. I can sleep on the couch, she said immediately. I pointed to the second bedroom. It's yours, I said, until you figure things out. She nodded. No tears. No dramatics. Just relief. I didn't expect a miracle, but I was surprised by how hard she tried. For 2 days, she sat at the dining table with her laptop, sending resumes, making calls. She didn't ask for money, didn't ask for rides, didn't ask me to rescue her. On the third day, she landed an interview at a dentist's office. Receptionist, no benefits, barely above minimum wage. She was proud anyway. The problem wasn't Emma. It was the noise outside. That week, the pressure started. Texts, calls, voicemails I didn't listen to because I already knew the script. Shock turned into anger. When that didn't work, guilt. Then came the group email. Subject, family matters. We are disappointed. We are heartbroken. But we are still your parents. No apology, no responsibility, just disappointment, weaponized as love. And when that failed, they went after Emma. She came home from work one night and dropped her phone on the couch. They want me to come back, she said. They said they'll forgive me if I leave your place. She swallowed. They said you filled my head with nonsense, that you're jealous of me, that you want me dependent so you can feel better about your own life. It would have been funny if it wasn't so familiar. They're not going to stop, are they? She asked. Not until you stop listening, I said. She nodded slowly. Then she blocked their numbers. That was the moment I knew she wasn't just running anymore. She was choosing. Things didn't fall apart all at once. They tightened. After Emma blocked our parents, the house settled into a strange, cautious quiet. Not peace, just the absence of noise, like the moment after you shut a door but haven't locked it yet. Emma slipped into a routine quickly. Up early. Work. Home. She stopped doom scrolling and started sleeping before midnight. She tracked every dollar she spent in a spiral notebook on the kitchen counter, writing slowly, carefully, like the numbers might disappear if she rushed them. I didn't hover. I treated her like she was capable, because she was. For almost 2 weeks, my parents went silent. No calls, no emails, no drive-bys. I didn't trust it. I was right. On a Tuesday afternoon, my manager asked me to step into a conference room. HR was already there. Polite smiles, neutral voices. An anonymous report had been filed. The accusation was vague but calculated, that I was financially exploiting a vulnerable family member. No evidence, no details, just enough to trigger protocol. My stomach dropped. They told me it was standard, that my performance record spoke for itself, that the matter would be closed. But the message was clear. They couldn't control me anymore, so they were coming for my stability. When I told Emma that night, she didn't panic. She didn't spiral. She just stared at the wall for a long moment. "They're trying to scare you back into line," she said finally. "They can't control me, so they're punishing you." The next text came from my aunt. "Can we talk?" We met at a diner off the highway, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting too long. She slid into the seat across from us and didn't bother with small talk. She laid out a list: loans, emergency requests, stories my mother had told different relatives, all slightly different, all designed to pull money and silence out of people. Then she handed me a flash drive. "She tried to open a credit card in Emma's name," my aunt said quietly. That's when I started recording calls. My chest went tight. "She's panicking," my aunt added, "and she's getting sloppy." Grandma knew now, and she wasn't happy. She'd already planned a family dinner, framed as reconciliation, an olive branch. What my parents didn't know was that Grandma had been comparing stories for weeks. On the drive home, Emma was quiet. Then she said, "They told me you'd abandon me, that you always do when things get hard." I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. "I believed them," she admitted, "until now." We didn't RSVP. That was intentional. The dinner was at Grandma's house. We arrived late. When we walked in, conversation stopped mid-sentence. My mother stood too fast. My father looked wrecked. Hollow eyes, stiff posture. Emma squeezed my wrist. Grandma welcomed us like it was any normal family dinner. No tension in her voice, no performance. The table filled, plates clinked. Forced smiles cracked under the weight of unspoken things. Then Grandma tapped her fork against her glass. "I want to talk about lies," she said. The room froze. She spoke calmly. About the stories she'd been told, that I was unstable, that Emma was spiraling, that questioning anything was betrayal. Then she admitted she'd believed it, at first. My mother tried to interrupt. Grandma cut her off with a look I'd never seen before. She turned to my father. "I've heard the recording," she said. "I've read the messages. I've spoken to everyone you borrowed from." Silence. She said Emma's name had been used to apply for credit. That loyalty had been demanded in return for help. "I invited everyone," Grandma said, "so the truth wouldn't stay private anymore." My aunt spoke next, then another relative. Small stories that added up to something big. I stood at the end. "I didn't leave this family," I said quietly. "I left a role I never agreed to play." No shouting, no screaming. Just a slow unraveling. Emma and I left early. This time we hugged people, made real plans. On the drive home, Emma said, "They're not done trying to control us." "I know," I said, "but they don't have power anymore." She smiled then. Small, real. "I paid off my last credit card today," she said. The road ahead finally felt like mine. After the dinner, the noise didn't disappear. It faded. Not because my parents had suddenly changed, but because their voices no longer carried the same weight. Control only works when someone is listening. Emma kept her head down and kept going. Early mornings, long shifts, evenings spent at the small desk in her room, laptop open, notebook beside her. She didn't talk much about gambling, but I saw the work in the quiet ways she changed. The way she tracked every dollar, the way she paused before opening an app, the way she went to bed before midnight instead of chasing distractions. I didn't rescue her anymore. I trusted her. My parents tried a few last moves. Carefully worded emails, messages sent through relatives, invitations framed as apologies that weren't really apologies. I ignored them. Then, one Thursday night at 11:12 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Not polite, not hesitant. The kind of knock that makes your stomach drop. I checked the peephole. My father stood there alone. I didn't open the door. He waited, then leaned in close enough that I could hear his voice through the wood. "You've ruined her," he said. "She was weak before, but at least she loved us. You poisoned her." I stayed silent. "You'll regret this," he added. Then he left. I turned off the porch light. Inside, Emma sat on the edge of her bed in the dark. She'd heard everything. "Do you think they ever loved us?" she asked softly. "Like they were supposed to?" I sat beside her. "I think they loved what we did for them," I said. She nodded. "I don't want to be like them." "You won't be." The silence between us wasn't heavy. It was real. Weeks passed. Emma settled fully into her job. She stopped apologizing for existing. She laughed more, quietly, like she was relearning how. She started writing at night, not resumes this time, but posts, an anonymous blog. At first, she didn't show me. "It's about recovery," she said one evening. "For people who mess up and don't want to stay there." I didn't ask to read it. I didn't need to. 6 months later, the invitation came. A family dinner. This time to celebrate Emma. No pressure, no conditions. We went. Emma arrived in her own car, confident, shoulders back. At dinner, she stood and thanked the people who believed in her. She shared that her debt was gone, that she'd signed a lease, that her blog had grown into something real. She wasn't asking for applause. She was letting them know she was okay. Later, my mother said she'd been wrong. My father nodded once. That was enough. Back home, Emma turned to me and smiled. I think I'll be okay. I smiled back. You already are. That New Year's toast broke everything. But some things need to shatter so you can finally see they were never built right in the first place.